Hello! Are you a man? Are ya? I'm a man, and I am here to talk to you about the patriarchy. The patriarchy is bad. It is a system of oppression that harms and exploits people of all over the world, all over the globe. It is exploitative of literally every person. The patriarchy harms and exploits women and marginalized people far more than it does anyone else, but absolutely everyone hurts from the patriarchy, including men like myself. The patriarchy is a construct that has been very carefully built throughout time by men in order to set up society so that men are in charge of the big decisions that get made. The important thing to know about the patriarchy is that it affects different demographics in different ways. And a lot of the demographics don't realize that this makes it very tricky to pin down. The patriarchy is a false structure that has been built up by humans over time, and what it does is it markets a type of image to people. That sort of trad wife, like the husband and wife, like kids, the home, that sort of thing, like the woman being like under the husband who's a decision maker. Like those have all been marketed to us very carefully because the patriarchy upholds a lot of the other systems of oppression that are in place as well. It is important to understand that the patriarchy has been marketed to us as what would be good for all of society, whereas it only benefits an actual very small part of society. If you've seen the movie The Usual Suspects, one of the lines is, "The greatest trick the devil ever did was convincing people he didn't exist." The patriarchy is exactly that devil. The patriarchy does exist and doesn't want you to know about it because it doesn't want you to realize how many people it's hurting, because the patriarchy itself needs to exist in order to stay alive. It's for its own survival that it doesn't want people to access the education about the real harm that it does. The women and marginalized people that patriarchy suppresses the worst have been fighting against it as long as it has existed. Women and marginalized people are exhausted. Another good trick about the patriarchy, though, is that the only people that can dismantle it are men. I'm a trans man. I just found out I was a man like a year and a half ago. It's been wild. But now, even with that, I'm transitioning. My voice is going to change soon, supposedly. As I present as a man, I already feel the responsibility that I have to dismantle the patriarchy because it is only men that can create the mechanism for change around the mechanism that has been installed specifically for men. We are the only ones that can look at it from the inside and also from the outside and say enough is enough. We need to stop this type of system. Men are not going to stop existing. We don't need to stop existing. All we need to do is learn about the patriarchy, how it affects other people and ourselves. Look inside ourselves, see how am I uh, withholding the patriarchy within my life? How am I using misogyny inside myself? How am I using misogyny when I judge other people for these things? Um, how am I how am I possibly upholding the patriarchy without realizing it? Another good trick about the patriarchy is that men only kind of learn from men, but men also, in and of themselves, cannot understand the overall harm that the patriarchy does unless they listen to other types of groups that the patriarchy affects more than it does us as men. Because men, the patriarchy impacts women and marginalized people more than it does you. It hurts you every day, and it is the reason for the pain that you feel every day, but it hurts other people more than it does you. It is your job to find out about that harm and care enough about those other people and your future uh, people in your family line and in the society to do the work and figure out what is effed up about patriarchy and do your job to educate other men in order so that men will stop harming people, because the men are the warriors of the patriarchy. We are the ones that are going through society and upholding patriarchy and making it unsafe to be women and marginalized people around us. And if we don't know about it, we are going to keep doing the same behaviors that impact other people badly. But if we don't know about the impacts that we have as men and about the patriarchy as a whole, we can't possibly understand ourselves enough to stop harming the people around us. Because the only way the patriarchy will stop harming people is if men stop harming people. And men, I promise you, we harm people way more than you realize. Just because you haven't unalived someone, just because you haven't raped someone, you still harm people every day. Every time you uphold the patriarchy, every time you don't listen to the story of a different person than you and assume they must be making it up, and you don't listen to them with empathy and believe them, you are the problem. And that is what makes you a foot soldier of the patriarchy. The patriarchy is the empire. Like, do you want to be an empire soldier, or do you want to be in the resistance fighting for liberation for all people? If you do not do your research and educate yourself about the patriarchy by yourself, it should be your job to educate yourself about the patriarchy so that you reduce the harm that you do in society. If you do not do that, you are the problem, and you are complicit in upholding a patriarchy that harms and oppresses and unalives and rapes and exploits people every single day. And you are part of the group. But you need to get educated about the patriarchy from the viewpoints of the people that it is harming more than you. And yes, it is harming you, and listen to other men and talk and hear them talk about how the patriarchy affects us. But you need to listen to women. You need to listen to black people, to indigenous people, and people of color. You need to listen to people talking about the patriarchy and how it affects them, and you need to believe them and care about them. Because if you don't hear about those people's stories, it's not going to become as clear to you how really harmful and oppressive it is against every human on this planet. It is a cancer that is sucking humankind dry, and it needs to be stopped. And the only way it can be stopped is if men get started learning for ourselves and educating other men around us and holding other men accountable for the harms that we are doing in society. Because we cannot no true Scotsman fallacy out of this. Men are the foot soldiers of the patriarchy, and we need to acknowledge that and start holding other men accountable so that there are fewer and fewer dangerous men out there upholding a system that they haven't even learned about that is actually currently harming other people. So please go listen, go read books, go watch videos about the patriarchy from women and BIPOC people especially. That is your assignment. Go to TikTok lives about the patriarchy from women and from BIPOC people. Listen to their voices first, before you listen to men's voices. You have to listen to the people on the bottom first, because they are the ones that get affected more than we do at the top of the pyramid as men. Because as far as the patriarchy is concerned, men are the top of that particular pyramid. Full stop. Men, we are not doing well for society. And to know better is to start doing better, though. And so now what I'm telling you is, you know this, you know that you need to go do this, and I challenge you to go be a man and learn about the patriarchy and start actually protecting the people in your lives that you care about.